In this video, we're going to learn about percent. We come across percentages quite often in the day-to-day life. For example, we can see percentages when something is on sale. Our phone tells us how much battery is left in terms of percentage. We can see percentages on the food packages. When we read through the nutrition facts, we can see percentages on the news reports. And there are many other examples. But what is the percentage? How is it defined mathematically? Well, the general definition of percentage is a fraction of 100. And that definition is actually hidden within the word percent itself, because part per means divided, and cent comes from a Latin word centum, which means 100. So if we put it together, percent means divided by 100. Or I can rephrase that and say out of 100. And to practice this concept, let's consider this grid that has 100 squares. So it's basically 10 by 10, right? And then 15 out of those squares are shaded. So what kind of fraction represents this shaded region? Well, we know that the total number of parts, and I'm going to be writing it under fraction. So we know that the total number of parts is 100, so I'm going to put 100 in the denominator, and since 15 boxes are shaded, it means that I'll have to put 15 in the numerator, so it's 15 out of 100. Well, that's the same as 15 divided by 100. Remember, fraction bar represents division. And since it's 15 divided by 100, that part divided by 100, I can literally replace with the word percent. So that means that this is the same as 15%. Once again, percent, this part, I can literally think about it as divided by 100. Okay, and now, as I say that this is same as 15%, I can say that 15% of this grid is shaded. Okay, but then do we know how to convert this fraction to a decimal? We do. We already learned that, right? So we know that since, well, first of all, it doesn't have the whole part, right? So it's going to be 0 point. And then we know that after the decimal point, we're going to have as many digits as the zeros in this number. So we have to have 2 digits. Well, and we have exactly 2 digits in the numerator. So as I place 15 here, it will take up those 2 spaces, and that will make a fraction, 15 hundredths, or I can say 0.15, and it's equivalent to this fraction. This decimal is equivalent to this fraction, and that means that it's equivalent to this percent. And a little bit later, we're going to talk about the shortcut, how we convert from percent to a decimal and back. But right now, I just want you to observe how these are 3 different ways to represent same thing, well, this shaded region. Let's try it a few more times. I have more examples here. Okay, so for all those grids, we need to represent the shaded region as percent, decimal, and the fraction of 100. And then simplify fraction as if we can. So the easiest way to start is actually to start with a fraction, right? Because we know we have 100 boxes here, 100 squares, so the denominator will be 100. And how many are shaded? 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's 49. So fraction is 49 hundredths. Well, it's the same as 49 divided by 100, so it means that it's same as 49%. And that is the same as the decimal 0.49. Now this fraction cannot be simplified, so I'm going to leave it like that. Now, next one. In the next one, the fraction will be 10, 20. 20 over 100. And that's same as 20%. 20 divided by 100, same as 20%. And the decimal is 0.20, right? So I have 2 digits because of 2 zeros. I'm placing the numerator here, 20. But of course, 0 at the end can be dropped, so it's same as 0.2. And this fraction can be simplified, right? I can divide both 20 and 100 by 20. So I can divide the numerator and the denominator by 20. So that becomes 1 over 5. And now what's interesting for this example, then we can realize that when we say that something is 20% or something is representing 20%, like this shaded region, for example, we now can see that it's the same as 1/5 of the whole, right? Okay, next one. Next one is interesting. See how is everything is shaded? Well, that means that what's going to be the fraction? Out of 100 parts, 100 are shaded. So that's same as, well, that simplifies to just 1, right? Remember, a fraction that has same numerator as denominator is 1. And that also confirms what we see here, right? Everything is shaded, so we get the whole here. And that's why it's same as 1. Now, but what percent is that? It's 100 divided by 100, so it's 100%. So whole is representing 100%. And what decimal is that? Well, in this case, it's just 1, right? We have a whole part, so it's 1. No decimal, just a whole number. And a few more examples like that. So fraction. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 50 over 100, right? And that is 50 divided by 100, so it's 50%. Now, decimal that corresponds to this is 0.50, or same as 0.5. But now, how can we simplify this fraction? Well, both 50 and 100 can be divided by 50, and that's the highest number that divides both of them. So divide by 50, divide by 50, that's 1 over 2. Okay, and that's something that we, of course, know just from using percentages in real life. We know that 50% represents 1/2. We were able to show that mathematically right now. So 50% is same as 1/2. Next one. It's only one box that's shaded, so it's going to be 1 over 100. 1 divided by 100 represents 1%. And what decimal is that? It's point. Now, I know that I have to have 2 digits after decimal point because I have 2 zeros here, but it's only one number that I have in the numerator, so I'll have to write like that, 0, 1. So this way I have 1, but also I have 2 decimal places because of 2 zeros in the denominator. So 1% corresponds to the decimal 0.01. And finally, the last example here. So the fraction will be, that's what? 5 times 5, right? 25 boxes are shaded, so it's 25 over 100, which is same as 25%. And what decimal is that? Decimal is 0.25, right? But then I can also simplify the fraction. I can divide 25 and 100 by 25. And that becomes 1 over 4. So 1 over 4 right here. So that means that 25% represents 1/4 of the whole. And we can see that here, right? The way it's shaded, it's obvious that this is 1/4 of the whole grid. So that's the way to represent the shaded region of this grid as the fraction, percentage, and decimal. These examples can also help us to see how we can convert decimal to percent and the other way around. So notice that here we have 25% and the decimal is 0.25. And here we have 50% and the decimal is 0.50. Well, before we drop 0, right? So this helps us to see that converting from percent to decimal is actually pretty easy. And the matter is just of moving the decimal point. So when I look at 25%, which is a whole number, where's the decimal point? The decimal point is not visible, well, because it's a whole number, but technically it's at the very end. So it's right here. And it's not visible because I don't really need it. But where's the decimal point when we look at the decimal? Well, where did it move? Well, it was at the end of 25, now it's in the front of 25. And how far did it move? Well, it moved exactly 2 places to the left, 1, 2, and then we got 0.25. So we're going to practice this right now, but the bottom line is that when we convert from percent to a decimal, and then from a decimal to percent, we're just going to move the decimal point 2 places. It's always 2 places. Why? Why is it 2? Well, because the definition of percent as something divided by 100. Since we always have this 100 involved, that's why we're always going to move decimal point only 2 places. We just need to remember the direction in which to move.